What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL live this time. Joined as always by my two co-hosts, Jonathan Holder and Toby D. Gentlemen, how y'all doing today? Toby, what's going on, brother?
It's cold out there.
Yeah,
That's
a
what's
little
going
bit,
on right
a little
now.
bit. It decided to get a little chilly, right?
I got the beanie on, man.
Jonathan, how you doing, bro?
Man, I am doing great. I don't feel near. It doesn't feel nearly as the sky is falling after this past weekend as it did the previous couple losses. So.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. I mean, obviously we didn't win. There were some interesting things that we're going to definitely talk about. So I guess without much further ado, we might as well go ahead and get into it. Figure we'll go ahead and jump off with this one since Fred was nice enough to go ahead and open up his wallet
Appreciate it,
this
Fred.
evening. He says, "I know everybody is going to blame Ritter. Blame Ritter. Yes, Ritter made mistakes, but Arthur can never call a good game 2 weeks in a row. When were we going to blame Arthur instead of the players? Even Matt was mad. I'm guessing you didn't look at the title of today's episode there, Fred. Says the Atlanta Falcons could not build on last week's success, turnovers, and bad coaching.
Yep.
So yes, no, yeah, we're definitely going to get into all of it. I mean, because yes, like we do our best to give you our opinion, but also give you what we see, right? Well, we don't pull any punches, and for the most part, when we have biases, like this, like we try to point them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so yeah, nobody's going to get left out in a sense, and but we're going to try to do it in a way that isn't just griping and complaining. I see that quite a bit, especially on Twitter or Twix or X or whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna try not to. We're gonna try not to be shock jocking and just griping and complaining.
Like Zach Klein. Jesus.
Zach Klein, did he go off or something?
He was like, Ritter took 10 steps forward last week, and then this week he took 50 steps backwards.
Wow, 50. My God.
Yeah.
I don't follow him, so I guess I did not see the 50 steps back.
I don't think I follow him either. I think it just came up on like a retweet or somehow it showed up on my timeline for some reason.
I got you. Well, it's that time of the show, and our good buddy Willie Doc has already hit us up. Willie, we appreciate you. He says, Ballers is Okuda, Faller's run blocking. Where did it go? Honorable mention, Calais, side-eye glance, Cordell Patterson.
I love them side-eye.
I love his side-eye glances.
Yes.
I thought about adding it in ourselves, but I was like, no.
We might have to.
That might be next year's deal. We might add in some side eyes, but that's Willie's trademark. I may have to try to like pay him for royalties on that one. Anyway, he says side eye glance. Cordell Patterson, is he Todd Gurley 2.0? This was a self-inflicted loss, very much so self-inflicted. I agree with a lot of those. Okuda definitely has been balling out since he's been back, which is nice to see. That's what you were hoping for when we traded for him.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Washington, like they're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team, but one thing you can't say is that their wide receiver group as a whole is not. You can't say they're not talented,
right?
Like that is one of the more talented. Not saying they're the best or anything like that, but they are one of the more talented wide receiver groups in the NFL. When it comes to Terry McLaurin or any of those other guys, like when Okuda was on him, like he was on him.
Yeah. Okuda played very well.
Played very well.
So let's get into who pound for pound thinks is the baller and faller. So baller, I think it was Willie's honorable mention, but our baller is Calais Campbell.
Yep.
This is the bad part about defensive linemen. I'm gonna pull the curtain back just a little bit. When you're trying to find a good photo of them from in the game, it's not really a good way to like good photo. This is just a stock photo from the team, which he kind of looks like, you know.
Yeah.
But either way, he got his 100th sack,
Yes.
and you know,
busted out the dirty bird.
yeah, he did. He busted out the dirty bird, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely glad to see him finally get his 100th sack. And this kind of brings me to the point of the, you know, D line, which we'll get into here in a little bit. It was also really good to see the D line finally capitalize on a offensive line that was giving up sacks.
Mhm.
You know, and a quarterback who was holding on to the ball too long. Too many times we have seen, you know, oh, we should get to this quarterback, you know, because they're giving up sacks or whatever, you know, and then we don't, like, we don't even sniff them. But the fact that we were able to get, you know, 5 sacks on them throughout the game was, which it was good to see. And Calais getting his 100th sack was awesome.
Well, just the defense as a whole could have gone for ballas
Oh, yeah.
because you know when we look if you just look at the final score, you're like, oh man, you know, Falcons lost by 8. When you dig into the stats, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Falcons in every stat except for turnovers and the final score, but
Mhm.
measurably in just about every other stat, like the Falcons dominated the Washington
Yeah.
on the Redskins, the commies, you know.
I don't think you can say that one, John.
Oh,
You gonna
it's
get us in
family
trouble
show.
with
Family
it. He's saying it over with the comments.
They call themselves that. I mean,
well.
like I was watching a preview channel, like a Washington channel on YouTube, a preview of this game, and he was like, you know, the commies, this and that and the other. And I was like,
can you say
y'all embrace. I mean, you could say it; it's not a big deal. But like, I'm just surprised that like anybody would embrace that. But okay.
Well, this is a different day and age, so
Yeah.
I guess
but like that offense can score a ton of points. But the only reason they scored like at least 14 of their points was they had extremely short fields.
right.
Yeah, they
It's
had
hard.
better field position. Yeah.
It's absolutely hard to stop somebody on a short field.
Yeah.
All right, well let's move on to the fathers so that we can get into the actual game thoughts part of this segment. When everybody's favorite mustache having coach. There are times that I think you know, Jonathan obviously the pre-show had a little bit different memory, but the trend that is starting to pop up in my mind, it seems like there's like 1 or 2 like clunker games a year. You know, to where it just does not look like last year. We said of the all offseason, the only game we got blown out last year was the Bengals game. But that was a game last year that we didn't even begin to look like we were prepared to play that game. And then, you know, this year, it like, you know, Willie said, self-inflicted wounds, big time, over and over again. And self-inflicted wounds like that is to me, a reflection of coaching. And that's go ahead.
Well, the difference between that game last year and this game this year, the difference was what we didn't see then was having problems getting guys on and off the field.
Mhm.
Maybe once or twice in the whole game. Maybe. Okay. But in a critical moment, you know, which there weren't that many because it was pretty much done by the end of the second quarter. But in a critical moment, there wasn't that like everybody's like hair on fire, like what are we doing? Trying to figure it out, and everything's going wrong, and everything's just everything felt sped up for them, right?
Mhm.
We didn't feel that. Now, were we unprepared? Whether you want to call it unprepared or we just got flat beat, we didn't look like we were ready to play that day. But from a logistical standpoint, it didn't look like it did this past Sunday. Right. This past Sunday is the first time from a logistical, just getting guys in, getting the play in, getting guys off the field, getting guys on the field, getting the right personnel package in on offense. Didn't have that problem on defense, but you had that problem on offense, right? And that's the part that stood out to me. It wasn't even necessarily like the game plan. It wasn't the play calling. I think the play calling for the most part was fine. Just nobody wanted to open up any holes for the run. The pass was looking good. We just had some rookie mistakes and some bad passes that got picked off. Okay, that happens. But like overall, the game plan I think was fine, and that is reflected when you look at the stats, like how many more yards we had in the passing game. We actually still had more yards in the running game. We dominated them on defense, dominated them everywhere else except for they took advantage of every single time they had an opportunity of a short field or when we made mistakes, they took those opportunities and ran with them.
Oh
We
yeah, I
did,
mean as they should. Yeah, right.
and so
100% on. I was trying to see. Oh yeah, MJ says Matt Ryan was calling out
yeah,
the plays coming out late before we even seen it on TV. Yeah, and to me that's where I get at, like when you're having that stuff going on, that's that's failure on coaching staff, on like situational awareness. Situational awareness is a huge thing to me. I'm trying to see if I can get some. I'm about to have. There it is. I knew it was fixing to happen. I was trying to get like some stuff pulled up because I wanted to
yeah.
see something, and I knew like a video was fixing to start playing. It's like trying to catch it right before it did. But yeah, no. So, but yeah, the deal of like getting play calls in late, looking like you're confused about what's going on. That's a coaching issue, and that's something I don't like to see because these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Everybody on that field is getting paid millions of dollars, right? We
Yeah.
watch this particular sport because these are the best of the best. Somebody asked me a long time ago, "Oh, why do you like pros over college?" I like the college game for innovation, but I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. But my allegiance lies with the pros because these are supposed to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
And when I see stuff like, even when from Belichick or whoever, when I see stuff like clock mismanagement, that yes, I get it. You have human errors from time to time, but that stuff is beyond aggravating. And that last sequence in the fourth quarter where you had a chance to, you know, go in and you had a chance to like win the game, so to speak, or at least get into a tie, like you couldn't pull it off, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I got a different twist. I don't think it's a coaching at all. I think this offense is they're still trying to figure out what this offense is. Now, one of the things I said was the back shoulder throws. Go figure. They work, right? The
Right.
wheel routes. They started running them like I was talking about. They need to start doing. So they're doing some things to try to still figure out this offense. The passing game has tremendously improved the last 2 weeks, right? Guys are flying wide open like we remember them doing in the Arthur Smith offense from the past with the Tennessee Titans. So that's a good thing. Desmond Ridder is hitting his weapons now, which he wasn't doing the first 2-3 weeks of the season. Now, you mentioned about the 6 interceptions and the 6 touchdowns. That's actually good to me because he's even. And the offense is still trying to figure themselves out to be 3-3 at this point. That's good to me because I think eventually they're going to get a breakthrough. Just like I said about the defense. I know we talked about the lack of sacks that they had going into last week's game. But one of the things I said was once the defense starts getting a better chemistry and a flow with each other, the sacks will come. Look what happened Sunday. They got 5 sacks. You see what I'm saying? So things to me are starting to turn around. That's why I'm not too sad about this loss because just like Jonathan was saying before we got on the show, this loss is an indicator to me that they are still finding each other, but at the same time, they're starting to hopefully get a breakthrough where you'll start seeing a string of wins coming along with what they've been learning and what they've been, taking from these games, even in the losses. So I'm excited about where they could go because they're even right now, 3-3, and they got a chance to really get some strings and wins together. So that's what I'm excited about. So I'm not anybody think I'm gonna be on Desmond Ridder tonight. I'm not because I'm actually excited about what it looks like he can do. The passing game is getting better.
Yeah, I mean, like Archer, Dave Archer was on with 92.9 yesterday, and he was talking to him, and he was like, for anybody that thinks that after watching this game on Sunday that this was a regression by Ridder, they like he doesn't know what to say to him, because like this is a young quarterback learning how to play football in the NFL. Okay, he now has had this experience. He will take this and he will learn from it. We know that Ritter is the kind of guy that after the loss in London, like he was on his way back to the US, he watched the game tape through twice, like looking at every angle that he could to try to see what he was doing wrong, what he can learn from it, all in the trip over from London. Right. So we know this guy is a film rat. We know this guy is in the gym all the time. We know this guy is putting in that work. And the guys on the sideline with him, his players, his teammates, they all see it, because none of them are throwing him under the bus. They're all, and they probably wouldn't do it anyways. But at the same time, if they didn't have something good to say, they probably just wouldn't say anything. Whether they're not going to come out and say, "Oh, he cost us the game." There's going to be they might just be like, say some nonplussed answer, but they're like, no, this is not on Dez. This is like, we all didn't do what we needed to do. And so like, I feel like the last two games, he has grown up a ton. There, just like we talked about at the beginning of the season, during the whole off season, if you're going to go with Ritter, there are going to be bumps in the road, and you're going to have games like what we saw on Sunday. Like that, we may see another one at some point down the road, whether it's this season, next season, maybe whatever, but we're going to see them. But as long as I see him progressing, which I am seeing, this offense looks a lot better from a passing perspective than it did week one, and then also just week 4, just 2 weeks ago. So see a lot more anticipation. I don't see him stare. He does still stare sometimes, but every quarterback does that. A lot of quarterbacks will get away with it too. But he doesn't. He's not doing it as often, and especially over the middle, he's doing a much better job of holding safeties, holding linebackers until he's ready to throw that ball. He's doing that a lot better than he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, I will say.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tommy.
No, I'll say that they have found an opening opportunity in this passing game the last 2 weeks, and that's exciting to see. Like I was saying, now you're starting to see guys getting open, right? And so this gives me positivity going in that now they figured out some things in this passing game where they have consistent plays they'll be able to call that's going to work, and I believe it's going to die down some of these interceptions that Ritter's throwing, because they had to get some new passing concepts. And I think that's part of the reason why players was getting in late and guys were looking confused or whatnot, because they have been trying to figure out how to get this passing game going. And I think they finally figured it out through these 2 games, which is an indicator of the 300-yard back-to-back games that Ritter has had these last 2 games. So I think you're going to see that carry over, and they're going to be even better going into this next game that they're getting ready to play. So I'm excited, man. I'm not really sad at all. I'm not really mad or nothing. I believe they're going to be better if they keep on fighting and grinding it out, man. I think they still got time. That's why I had them going 10-7.
Right.
Because I figured this might be a situation that might happen.
Brad Butts with another $5.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Appreciate you, sir.
Just leave your wallet out. Just leave your wallet out.
He says, I think Ritter will break through on Sunday on the road and get his first road win. Then the team will get on a roll. We'll see. That's like, to me, that's one of the next hurdles is, can Ritter win on the road? We can stop talking about the home winning streak now. That's done. Now can we snap the, pro like road losing streak? Millie Mills has a good point. He says the passing has definitely gotten better, but the run game has gotten worse. So is that good or bad? Right now, I'm not super concerned about the run game through the last 2 or 3 games. And the reason why I say that is because you can watch the film and watch the tape and see teams are selling out to stop the run. Right. Somebody said earlier, it was Emmanuel, says all the Arthur Smith refuses to run a running back dive up the middle. Why is he going to run it up the middle? Like there is consistently 8 and 9 guys in the box. Like, it was it Joe Patrick, or maybe it was somebody talking about like running your head into a wall.
That was me.
That was you. Okay. It was last week, so I couldn't remember if it was you or Joe Patrick, but that's exactly what you would be doing right now. They have to put the fear in these defenses to soften them back up. That's why they went out and got Van Joseph or Van Joseph Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Jefferson. I was like, that is not right. Van Joseph is not right. I was sitting there going, that is not the correct name. Anyway, that's why they went out and got Van Jefferson, and you saw it. Like, they were that close to hitting, a deep shot for a touchdown. And, Jefferson was able to, in his first game, give you what Scotty Miller has not been able to give you.
Right.
Is, a legitimate deep threat. And they had to, you got to try to throw it down there because they got to do something to try to soften up these boxes. Let's see. Manuel follows it up with JR. They're playing the D tackles on the outside of the guards. Why not run it up the middle? Because you've got 4 or 5 linebackers and everybody's standing there. It would be minimal gain. You got to try to loosen them up.
Here's how you're going to get the run game going. More draw plays. So now that you got your passing game going, this is a great chance to add more draw plays into the mix. Because those draw plays with the type of running backs you have is what's going to soften the defense up from the shotgun perspective. So if they add more draw plays into there, I guarantee you the run game is going to open up for them out of the shotgun.
For me, I think if they could get to more counter plays, like Bijan looks real good coming out of those, counters. So if you're not going to, we've yet to see, I don't even know if we're going to see it, but we've yet to see the, diamond formation come back. So if you're going to be going more like traditional offset, then like counter plays would be something that I'd like to see them put back in there. Myself.
I really liked the pass to Jefferson. I think that was a really good shot. For one, I think Ritter surprised people with his arm on that throw. It was a good throw. It was just a smidge off.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to get more of that. And Van Jefferson gives you exactly what I was talking about before. Was the reason why you go out and get him is you've got a Scotty Miller, but Scotty Miller has a problem getting off the line if guys are physical with him. Van Jefferson doesn't have that problem being a bigger guy.
Right.
And he's a guy that can fight off the bump, the pressure, and get off that line. And then once he's out in the open field, he can run away from just about anybody. So like that's what we need to have that guy on the field so that people have to think about, okay, this guy can really eat us up if we're not paying attention. And that's just one more thing for them to think about.
Yeah. And I think you're a lot of aspects, like, something I was trying to say over the off season, everybody tries to absolutely peg Arthur Smith as being a run first coach. I tried to argue that I think he actually wants to live in a more balanced world than being run first per se. Something Toby had brought up, I think a week or two ago when we were, it was coming off either the Detroit game or the Jaguars game, to where where he really wants to live is, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 4, that mid-range of the down and distances. When he starts getting into trouble is when you get into those like longer ones. So because when you can live in those, second and mid, 3rd and short type deal, now you have the option of running, either running or passing. You're not stuck at just one. But there's a part of me that thought about it on Mondays thinking, they got to figure out one way or another if Ritter's the guy. The first 2 weeks, it was like Mariota all over again in the sense of we're only going to throw less than 20 times a game, try to, wear you down with a run. Then you ran into Detroit, who was like, we're not going to let you do that. Same thing with Jacksonville. We're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you just run all over us. So we're going to put it on the arm of Desmond Ridder. And you go into the Houston game going, okay, like Houston, we were all at the game. You could easily see it. Houston said, we're not going to let you do that. We're going to stack the crap out of the box. We're not going to let you do that. And, so they aired it out and, had success with the, with some of the passing concepts, getting guys open, back shoulder fades, contested catches, giving those guys, what you brought them in to do, and then you did the same thing against Washington. You just had some, growing pains, some hiccups. There was, again, I get frustrated with the coaching staff because you're the ones that aren't supposed to be going through growing pains. Like, you're the ones supposed to know what you're doing. You're the ones that's supposed to have the answers. When I listen to coaching podcasts all the time, it's like you have to have the answers for the players. That's your job, And so to see calls coming in late, especially in the fourth quarter, like, I can honestly say this is the first time going into the fourth quarter where I felt good, because that's when we tend to come alive, like second half, right? And so, when to see that frustration bowl out onto the field like that was not a good look, and I hope that they can get this corrected in that sense.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. The word there is corrected, because I feel like I wasn't 100% sure coming out of weeks 3, especially week 4. Week 3, it is what it is. We had our shot. We had our chances in that game. We just didn't take advantage of them. Week 4, it just felt like a beatdown, right? And we just had no shot. And so coming out of week 4, I was like, I wasn't 100% sure. But we fixed some things. Week 5, come out and get the win. Week 6, we dominate the game for the most part, but we make some mistakes, some self-inflicted wounds, and we end up losing that game. The mistakes and the self-inflicted wounds, those are all of the things I saw were all fixable things. They were not like, okay, this thing happened, and it seems like this is a thing that's going to happen over and over and over again. I don't think, we may see it pop up from time to time, but I don't think you're going to see this be something that happens nowhere even close to that. I think most of the time we're going to see what we normally see, which is they get guys in and out of the huddle, they get plays in like they're supposed to, and that the whole operation runs like it's supposed to. It's all fixable stuff. And so I'm not that worried about it. If it becomes a trend, then I'll become worried about it. One game, not that worried about it.
I mean, for whatever reason, Washington has outnumbered. They've had it for the last 3 years. They've beaten us 3 years in a row. And this is the second time for the second year in a row that they've intercepted us on what could have been a tying the game. Or last year when we had a chance to actually win the game, they ended up getting an interception from a tip ball that was meant for CP84. So it's something about Washington and us. When we play, we just don't do well against them. And Ron Rivera, this is probably what he was hoping all the time when he was playing with Carolina Panthers, that he would be able to do it this way. When they need a win, they get a win. Unfortunately, he couldn't get a win with Matt Ryan at the helm. So now he's able to do that for 3 years in a row. And we seem to help them every year for the past 3 years. When they are under 500, they can get back to 500 for whatever reason when they play the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know. But
kind of like Tennessee back in the day.
Yeah, they got our number right now.
I do find it hilarious. Ritter has like a good game last week, and we didn't see King, but now he has a bad game, and King pops back up. Now I find that funny. He says, "I thought there was hope for old Ritter."
Missed you last week, King.
Yeah, right, exactly. But he's just not it. Bad coaching, and the defense was pretty bad.
What?
Yeah, okay. He goes, I believe Calais needs to be a DT. He's too slow for a DN. He's the type of DN that Ryan Nielsen likes to play with. Big DNs. That's what he plays with. I see that I guess the news, we haven't really necessarily gotten to it as of yet, but I guess we will move on in the banner segment. I guess we could have went to, good feeling, short-lived, coming off the Houston game. But anyway, most of the banner stuff we covered. I was just sitting there looking at my banners. I was like, "Where's the run game? Yeah, we kind of covered that. Bad coaching and becoming a trend. Yeah, we covered that." So
I didn't even read the banners, so
yeah.
just in
Fred,
tune like that.
yeah, good. What's up, Fred? Again,
Fred, man.
he says my biggest problem with Arthur Smith is he runs on every first down, and we end up in third and a long way too much. Arthur kills a lot of drives. I think we have that complaint about every coach. Like, I don't know.
I don't see that. I see now. Does it happen sometimes? Sure, but I see, like this past game, like they were throwing it a ton on first down. They were doing a lot of play action pass off first down. Like, if we go back and I watch, I haven't watched it again yet, but maybe like a couple of things here and there. But if I go back and watch it again and it turns out that's the case, then it is what it is. But like I saw so many people, like the problem is if I saw a lot of complaints on Twitter, like, we're passing it way too much, and this and then the other. But then I'm like, okay, so let's say you turn those other 22, he threw it 47 times.
Right.
Everybody says 20 to 25 attempts is where he should live. Okay, so let's take the outside of that 25 attempts. If we were to take 22, that's what you need to get to 25 from 47. If we take 22 of those passing plays away from Ritter yesterday or Sunday, and we gave those to a running back running out of the backfield, okay, and we got similar results to what we got for the other however many running plays we ran, okay, all you're going to hear about coming out of that game is you got to let Ritter throw it more. You've got to let him do this. You got to let him do that. You're good because that we were not going to run the ball against Washington with any kind of real success. Only thing we were running that ball for was to keep them honest, so we could still do play action passes as get whatever we could out of the play action. Like that's the only reason why we were running, because we couldn't open holes against them. So that's when I made the comment, like, you can't expect somebody to just, what do you want him to run into a brick wall? Because that's what that would have been doing, is you run it into a brick wall. So like, I think he made the right decision on what to emphasize, especially as that game went along and you saw what kind of production you were getting out of that run game. Now you started to see it open up a little bit later in the game, and we got we started to get some more chunks out of the running game later in the game. And I think, but if you don't have the mistakes with the interceptions, you don't have all the play calling stuff as far as getting the plays in and getting people into the huddle and all that other jazz, then I think we look back at this as like, okay, the run game eventually got there, but I think he made a good decision on what to prioritize, even if it wasn't that going into the game. As that game went along, you saw that we were not running the ball well at all against that team. And so the only other option was, let's go to the passing game. And that was working. Like, that was working the whole game. Outside of the 3 interceptions, the passing game worked. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's just the way you said it. It's like, outside of the, no crap. Outside of the 3 interceptions, the things that killed the game.
Yes, but outside of those 3 passes, like, the passing game overall worked all game long.
Also, keep in mind, and this is something that I think about quite a bit. And I meant to pull it up, but if I'm not mistaken, the Thursday night game where Chicago went in and beat the Commanders, like they ran pretty good. That like Chicago ran good. So now you have 10 days to then prepare for the Falcons, right? And everybody knows that the Falcons want to run the ball, right? So you make that a point of emphasis. And that's where, as a play caller, you have to figure out how to, Arthur Smith even said himself, he said, we have to figure out how to get back to running the ball, even with stacked boxes. Like he alluded to, like he knows that everybody's loading up to stop them. And because that's the one thing that you were consistent enough on, that you were able to scare enough defenses with, and that was the run game. Okay, So somebody said it up here earlier. Okay, it was Twigs. He says, I personally think last week Art wanted to test Dez to see if he could be consistent with his reads like last week. We must remain to our identity in order to win games. I think these past 2 weeks, not that you didn't have a choice, but I think it was concerted effort to, okay, we have to start showing more. We can't just be this one dimensional team and expect to continue to win games. And also, you have to figure out if, Ritter is going to be your guy. Like you have to figure out, can he handle it, right? Can he handle the play calling? Can he handle whatever? Like there are times that it felt, disjointed a little bit, and that's something that has popped up before. I'm not a play caller. I know a lot of us play Madden and think we are, but I try to at least give them the benefit of the doubt in a sense. I say all this knowing how I used to rail on Dirk Cutter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand where people are coming from. I'm trying to be a little bit more forgiving. Maybe that's not the right word. Trying to be a little bit more open-minded, I guess. Good Lord, Jay Black.
Jay Black, man.
Oh my
$20.
goodness.
It says, Toby and Jonathan, Chicago had success because the D has to account for Fields running. If we use RPO sparingly as a threat, it will open up the run. That was something that I said when we were sitting there watching Houston. That backside on that naked is open quite a bit, at least in that game. That's something I would like to see. What is y'all's thoughts on that? Toby, we'll start with
I
you.
mean, it's like I said before. I think right now with this offense, they're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and especially what works for Ritter, what doesn't work for Ritter. Well, what I do believe they figured out is his passing game because it's indicative of the 300 yards back to back that he's had, and that he's been hitting 7 to 8 to 10 guys the last 2 games, right? So that part right there, like I said, you couple that now with your passing game with draw plays, you're going to get the run game going. Okay. And then when you get them draw plays going on the defense, now you can start doing your I formation runs. You can start doing your pistol runs and stuff like that. Until you're able to me, get them draw plays going with your passing game now open, you're going to be straight. So what Chicago did to the Commanders, I knew they was going to win that game, by the way. Okay, but
you called it
because I saw Chicago the game before that, you start them starting to get better, and Justin Fields was starting to get more comfortable. And so I felt like when they went into that game against Washington, they were going to carry that over, and that's exactly what they did. Now you're hoping that Atlanta, despite the loss, is able to continue to carry over what they starting to figure out. Okay, and you're hoping game 7 is that game where they're starting to put it together a little bit and start stringing together some wins. And so that's how I'm looking at it right now. I don't see anything going on with Ritter. I felt after watching the game and calming down, Ritter is going to be fine if they can continue to build on what he's done the last 2 weeks in the passing game. And he'll start getting more comfortable with running it when he knows he needs to. Right now, he's still not there yet, putting it together.
Right, and I'll agree with this. I obviously don't necessarily always agree with everything King says, but I will say this: Ritter, I love you, King, but Ritter isn't fast and agile enough like Fields, and that's the reason why you saw more of the RPO stuff with Mariota, because Mariota's good with that. Like he's really good.
That was something he was comfortable with.
As a runner, you can say what you want about Mariota as a passer, okay, but as a runner, like in an RPO situation, keeping that football, especially when he made the right read, which he did most of the time. Occasionally he made the wrong read, but that's going to happen. But when he made the right read and got out of there on an RPO and started like making moves, he looked really good. Ritter is not that guy. He's a guy that once he gets out in the open field, he can outrun some guys because he runs in straight line. He runs fast. but
Yeah.
he's not that shifty guy, right? He's not a Fields, he's not a Hurts, he's not those guys. So yeah,
He's
you
just
could
a
use the
different
RPO,
style.
but
Yeah.
you could use the RPO, but you use that RPO to the point where everybody just knows that Bijan or Algier is going to get the ball because he never keeps it. But you pop him every now and then, and maybe in like the big moments or whatever. But you do it every now and then when you've lulled people into that false sense of security of he's always going to give it to Bijan. Maybe even Bijan broke one earlier in the game, or Algier broke one earlier in the game. So now you're scared. You're even super scared about that, right? But yeah, you break that out very sparingly because he's just not that kind of runner. But if he can get around that edge and get into some open field, like he can run real fast.
Yeah.
But he's just not that. He's not that twitch guy.
Mm-hmm. Willie Doc, we thank you, sir.
Willie Doc.
He says, feel free to use the side eye glance anytime. So thank you, Willie.
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate it, man.
May have to include that. King says, what's the real problem with the Falcons offense? Is it the O-line? I don't know if the O-line has looked better the past 2 weeks. Ritter or Smith or all of the above, because something has to change. We have money, but still looking bad on offense when we have talent. Toby has a point that there's still, I think, really figuring out. And I know, like Huckle says, 6 games in, you still don't know what works. Wow, this is laughable.
Hucklebuck's just being a troll.
Oh, I know.
And chat the whole time.
I know. But I wanted to give him his due on this, And I also want to let you know, like, y'all ain't got a tip to get your stuff read. You know what I'm saying? But he says, get me a true OC in here quick, fast, and in a hurry. Okay, well then, I don't know what to tell you there. There ain't nothing I'm gonna say or we're gonna say that's gonna convince you one way or the other. Like, there's an aspect of me that's like, I'm kind of like last few years, I'm done necessarily defending. I ain't trying to defend the team, so to speak. I'm telling you what I see. We're giving you our opinions on it. And after listening, like as much time as I've put into listening to coaches talk, listening to like watching like clinics that coaches put on, like on YouTube and on like different podcasts and stuff like that, this stuff does take time. Like, regardless of, like, yes, I want them to be on it right away. You know what I'm saying? I want them to be clicked in and gelled and going. But how many times have we said it takes 4 or 5 games to really get into a. Have y'all not watched what happened this weekend alone in the NFL?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
The Browns beat the 49ers with PJ Walker at quarterback. The Jets beat the Eagles with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Jalen Hurts threw 3 picks. Patrick Mahomes.
The Eagles' offense all year, just in general, has kind of
disjointed.
Has not looked like super great.
And so, like, Patrick Mahomes barely squeaked by. Who'd they play? Crap. My mind went blank, but I know they only scored like 19. The only team.
What, the Giants, was it?
Yeah.
Was it the Giants?
Yeah, I believe it was.
But either way, like, the only team that has looked consistent pretty much out of the gate has been like Miami. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but even then they've had stumbles.
Nick said it was Denver. They played against Denver.
Oh.
And they barely beat they barely beat Denver. And so, like I said, it's not like I'm trying to make excuses. All I'm saying is this week in football was just, this whole year has been weird.
I mean, you look at New Orleans. Like, they put up 34 points, gave up 0 last week to everybody's chagrin, right? Even Saints' chagrin. They hate their own team. They don't even know it yet, though. But at the same time, like, then they come in this week against Houston, whose defense, can be good, but doesn't seem like it's necessarily like world beaters or anything like that. And they scored like 13 points and gave up 20 to Houston.
Right.
So it's just, it is what it is.
I mean, you're going to get sloppy football because practices have been dialed back from what they were back in the day. Nobody's doing 2-a-days anymore. Okay, these players, they wanted more relaxing practices. That's exactly what they got with the new CBA rules. So football is going to be sloppy at first because of all the relaxation that all these players are getting now, which is exactly what they wanted. Okay, and so now it just takes more time to get reacclimated to more of the season and getting more in shape and getting more in the football mode. And that's why football is sloppy right now. But now you're 6 weeks in. You're going to start seeing teams going into the 7th week separate themselves from these other teams. And we're hoping that the Falcons are one of those teams that can finally get it together. And hopefully they've discovered some things on defense, which I believe they have, which is an indication of the 5 sacks. Hopefully that defensive line has started to gel and they'll carry that over into the next game. And you're hoping that this offense has figured out some things that they can put together. Because I can tell y'all right now, I ain't even watched the passing concepts yet. I can tell you they're different. Okay, they are very different from what Mariota did last year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you can tell. And they're adding more to it, which is why you see, not only because they're behind, but you're seeing Ritter throw the ball more because they're trying to get that passing game going. So having him throw the ball more and run more passing concepts is going to help later on down the road.
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. He needs reps,
right?
How do you give him the reps? You call passing plays.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just as simple as that. So, maybe some of this is trying to catch up because they didn't start him early last year. Who knows? But at the end of the day, also, like if that running game, I guarantee you, if that running game had come out on Sunday and looked like what we expected it to look like coming into this season, he doesn't throw anywhere close to 47 passes.
No, he doesn't. Like I say that, like when I bring up the 47, we always say that is never a recipe for winning. Like we said that when it was Ryan throwing 40 plus times a game. Like you don't ever want to put it that much on your arm. Now look, Fred, I'm not going to put this up there. We do appreciate the $5, but I'm not going to read a comment that is taking a shot at another commenter. So we appreciate the tip, but I'm not reading that one. Okay. So just know that
we
going
do appreciate
forward.
it. Yeah, but let's keep it civil as best we can. You don't have to agree with anybody. I don't agree with King 7, but I appreciate him.
That's it. I appreciate him showing up. That's it. And we're going to do our best to keep it keep it civil in here. This is the thing that I think a lot of people may be looking back on, like the Dixon way says, Coach Arthur Smith needed preseason more than we thought at coaching this first team offense because his situational play calling is bad. To be honest, we can debate on the bad part. There's aspects of it that I agree with. As far as the play calling has not been great. I agree that he could have used the time figuring it out in the preseason when it didn't matter, but you have to balance like getting people hurt. I know that's stupid and it sounds like such a cop out, but essentially that's what it ends up being. Like, look at the Steelers. There's no guarantee that it's even going to work out. Like they played their starters quite a bit through the preseason, looked good through the preseason, and have come out and not look so great in the regular season. So that's not necessarily a guarantee, but I understand the point. I understand the thought process.
So I'm just going to say that. So Blizz, you're saying keep Ritter, let him develop on the bench. He doesn't develop on the bench. Okay. In the meantime, time for a cold Heineke. Heineke's not coming in unless there's an injury to Ritter. Like Ritter is going to
under 500.
but even then, I don't think that's going to happen. What we've seen the last 2 weeks. I said this before we started the show. What we've seen the last 2 weeks and the progression that he's made in the last 2 weeks. Yes, there were the interceptions this week. We expect those to happen because he's a rookie quarterback learning how to play in the NFL. But we've seen him get better the last 2 weeks. Any hope anybody had. Okay. Now, if he changes his mind and starts Heineke later on in the season, okay, fine, I'll eat crow on it. But I'm telling you right now, based on what I've heard from Smith and what we've seen on the field the last 2 weeks, if anybody had any thought that or hope that Heineke was going to be made the starter at some point this season outside of an injury related reason, that hope is pretty much dashed. It is not. It is not.
I mean, like you take this quote from a quote of Arthur Smith from our good buddy Daniel Flick, who writes for SI, talking about it's refreshing to coach a guy like Dez. Like, all intents and purposes, at least this year for sure, like Dez is his guy. I don't see him moving off of Dez short of, like you said, injury or like absolute catastrophe. But short of that, I don't really see that happening. Let's see.
While y'all reading that, finding something to read,
yeah,
I got to shout out Thomas. Okay, this
yeah.
is a longtime friend, and he is a Washington Commanders fan, and we talked a lot of stuff since January about what our teams are going to do to each other, and unfortunately, mine is the one that falls to the wayside. So, congratulations to him, because I said we was going to run at least 200 yards on his team.
Oh,
and, you know, we was going to have a better defense against his team, and unfortunately, that did not happen. So, shout out to him. He's probably watching, so shout out to him.
No, he is. Thomas.
Congrats, Thomas.
I didn't know that you didn't. I didn't know that you knew the Thomas that was posting, or I would have brought him up sooner. That's pretty good. No, it's fine. You know, that's hey, they won. You capitalize on the mistakes, and that's what
they own us. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. They own us, man. They own us right now. So 3 games in a row.
Marlon, you know, if you got a gray hair for every pick he's thrown, you only got 6, man.
You only got 6 gray hairs. You're doing all right.
Barely, you can't even tell they're
there. Can't even tell. There's a part of me that, like, if we end up with a bad season and, you know, Smith isn't shown the door, which I don't think he will be. He says, you know, I could see them going for a veteran QB. You know, he says we need a veteran QB. This team is ready to have. They have major weapons. We need a vet QB that can do a decent job. So that's how I could see this going if they were to move off of Ritter. You know,
I'm selling the farm for Caleb Williams. I'm sorry.
I don't know, dog. That this past game against Notre Dame, like, confirmed some fears I've had a little bit about Caleb.
Look, you're gonna have some games that ain't gonna be that good.
I know, I get it. My biggest, at least right now, and I ain't done like a ton of deep diving, so don't take this for like this is my hard stance. But my only problem I have right now with Williams is he doesn't seem to be able to operate too consistently in structure, and that seems to be a deal with a Lincoln Riley system. You know, think about Kyler Murray. Right? Like, the plays that Kyler Murray makes is, I'm going to run around like a crazy person until somebody comes open and throws the ball, you know?
Yep.
And to me, that doesn't work well in the league. That doesn't translate well in the league. Right.
I think Drake May, honestly, and even before this weekend, like what I've seen of Drake May, and I think somebody said it best, like, if you want a guy that can get you plays like within the system, like then that the Drake May is the guy. If you want a guy that can get you more points, like when stuff breaks down, then Caleb Williams is maybe your guy. But man, I just like Drake May. I want a guy that can do it in rhythm, that can do that better more often than I want a guy who can Aaron Rodgers it, because we've seen Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers isn't on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much, if you can't do it in rhythm, in on schedule with
in structure, right?
In structure. That's what I was trying to think of the word. But if you can give me a guy that can more often than not get the job done in structure, I want that all the time.
Right. Yep. Fred, I'll give you this one. $2. I appreciate you, Fred.
Appreciate you, Fred.
Arthur Blank has spoken that he believes in Ritter. Yes, I know he has, but I don't think that gives him any kind of ironclad that he's going to stay there. Now, I do have to put this one out there. King says, I never thought I'd say this. but Ritter kind of makes me want Matt back. Oh yeah, really?
Oh wow! Hold on now. Hold your horses, King 7. Come on now.
He told me not to start. I'm gonna start. Dagnabbit.
Come on, King 7.
Hey, look, it's something I said, like, and I joke and I kid or whatever. You know, we said last year we hoped and prayed that Mariota or Ritter was the answer. And I'm still hoping that Ritter is the answer, because what I don't want to do is get into that QB carousel. Like, that's not a place I want to be, straight up and down. I tell y'all that right now. It'll be real hard for me to come in here and talk to y'all week in and week out if we get into a QB carousel, because holy Pete, that I don't see how other fans of franchises do that.
Yeah, Chris is saying the Falcons were in Seattle watching Bo Nix. Don't kill the messenger. I mean, they better be.
They better be
watching. They better be looking at Bo Nix. They better be looking at Drake May, Caleb Williams.
They better be looking at
another guy that I really like, Jaden Daniels.
LSU. My only fear with Jaden Daniels, kind of like with Bryce Young, he's real slight. He's real.
Yeah, but he's not as slight.
Yeah, but no, he's not as slight. But I mean, come on, you already got, I hate it for Indy fans, with Anthony Richardson going in with a season-ending shoulder surgery, like that would suck.
But I mean, so you look at that and like, okay, Richardson. Everybody was talking about Bryce Young and how fragile he is, and then Richardson comes out and he's like couldn't finish 2 games because of a concussion, missed a game because of a concussion, came back. Immediately goes back out with a shoulder injury. And this is a guy that everybody was like, Josh Allen, like big, tall, strong dude. And this guy's the injury, seemingly the injury prone one coming out. So you just never know. Right. But I like Jaden Daniels because I watched a couple games this year with him in it, and that dude can throw some dots.
Oh yeah. He's got some good, and that's what I want is like, a guy with accuracy. That's so
yeah.
So Toby, your guy back there is he's now an Eagle. What you think about Julio Jones being on the Eagles practice squad?
He's done.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't see that, bro.
This is the first time hearing about it, but it don't bother me none.
I'm glad I didn't see that.
Yes, sir. Julio Jones signed a 1-year deal to be on the Eagles practice squad with the intent of coming up into the.
He don't sit down somewhere. he like Mr. Glass from Unbreakable. He need to just sit on down somewhere now. It's just time. It's Julio. It's time to sit down, baby. Sit yourself down. You can't do nothing else. You're done.
No. He's trying to get a quick ring. You know what I'm saying? He's hoping that he can just backdoor his way into a Super Bowl ring.
Look, let me tell you something. Did you see the Eagles? Yeah, they were leading Kansas City, but what they ended up ultimately doing, they lost. And what Brandon say, almost doesn't count. So if you're trying to get on an almost doesn't count team to win the Super Bowl, well, okay, good luck to you. Good luck to you.
I mean, he tried it with Tampa Bay down there with TB12.
And what happened with that? My point exactly. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
So somebody brings up Shedeur. He's going back to school one more year though, right?
Yeah, I think Deion's pretty much already said that, hasn't he?
I mean, that's what I had heard,
right.
And I think that's the right choice because so far what I've seen is for the most part when he's played legit teams, he's eventually got made some plays, but he hasn't wowed me when I've watched him against like the big teams. When he plays the smaller teams, and then he I kind of didn't like this. This is just my own personal opinion. You can feel differently however you want. He goes into Arizona State, wins that game there. Great. Hey, you needed the win. But then he goes up to their student section and is doing this. Like right after you win that game, that first thing you do is you go to the student section. You're doing this. And it's like, but that was Arizona State.
I mean, look, he's in Colorado though. I mean that's the same tier. That's where I have to like. But then again, like that's as old school as I am in a lot of things. Have at it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to, like, if you want to do the watch thing or the Johnny Manziel money, which I thought was stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's what gets these kids going nowadays. Is
Look,
that,
Yeah,
man,
but you got to back it up when you get in there against some big teams. You can't disappear
well,
in
it's
the
like
big game.
That's like Caleb Williams with the F Utah on his fingernails. So, but
Yeah.
what were you saying, Toby?
the apple doesn't fall too far from the
No,
tree.
it doesn't.
If you know anything about it, Daddy, come on now. You know Deion Sanders. He always was a flashy guy, and he showed off when he was good at what he was doing. It's like father, like son. So I'm not mad about that. The man's got the blood of his daddy in him. So hey, do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, it's a yeah. I don't worry about it, but it is one of those deals where if you're gonna do that, then when it gets put in your face, you can't get mad.
No,
You know what I'm
you're
saying?
right. You
Like
can't.
like if they lose some game and the other team is doing this or whatever, look, I want to hear nothing about it. Okay.
Mhm.
Like if you gonna strut, you can't get mad when you get strutted on. So that's my only
True.
and that's why I don't strut, right? That's why you very rarely hear me talk a lot of trash about other teams and things like that, because I don't take getting strutted on very well. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I know that about myself. So I try not to run my mouth. I get baited into it every now and again, but I try to keep it to just an opinion, not trash talking. I'm not a good because I don't handle trash talking very well. I will agree with Josh here. He says Shador posting on IG at halftime versus Stanford. That was uncalled for. Yeah, no, you shouldn't be like.
No.
We don't need
Leave
to
that
be on
alone
social
till
media.
after the game.
Right after the game, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Ghost Pepper says, Toby, they already listed Julio as questionable for this week's game. Meanwhile, AA Rod is trying to come back from Achilles surgery within the next few weeks. The NFL is crazy.
Wow.
It is nuts. Aaron Rodgers thing is kind of like nuts. The fact that he's walking around with no assistance and throwing a ball.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, that's
all they literally did is just pulled his Achilles up and then bolted it to his bone. And they're like, "You're good to go, sir."
It's time for Julio to sit down. I think he's trying to see if he can get more numbers to add on to hopefully get him into the Hall of Fame one day. But it's time for him to sit down now, man. He's just embarrassing himself at this point, to me.
Yeah, I agree. Like, so yeah, like when I saw that today, I absolutely laughed out loud that anybody would even consider, signing Julio Jones even to a practice squad, because it's not like his last year in Tampa, there wasn't much of nothing out there. We didn't really get into it much, but any thoughts on the team letting go of Jalen Hawkins?
Just means to me that Helms is probably progressing better than everybody. That maybe he's got to the point now to where they feel comfortable letting him go, and then they'll probably promote somebody off the practice squad.
Yeah, I wonder if they have like designs of like signing somebody, and that's why they let him go, because somebody got one of the offensive guys got picked up off of our practice squad by the Giants, who, side note, Jalen Mayfield got cut again. That's just not a
when you get cut from that offensive line.
Hello.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But somebody reported, I was trying to find it on Twitter, but somebody reported that the team was running like a interesting dime package with 3 safeties and 3 cornerbacks.
3 corners, which they run.
Yeah, and
if you look at the history of the New Orleans Saints, they run that.
Right. And the safeties was Helms, Grant, and Bates, not Hawkins. So it'd be interesting, because right now this because William Amy says
it's a big dime package is what they call it.
William Amy says Helm's going to take Richie Grant's spot. Richie got to get his play up a little bit. He hasn't been very consistent.
No, yeah, but I think he played. I think he played really well in this past game. I think minus a play or two in the previous game, I think he, for the most part, did what he was supposed to do. But like,
yeah, I'm about to say
he's not flashing anything.
Right. I don't know if we should have cut. Bliss says we should have cut. He says Grant was missing some tackles, which ticked him off, and like Richie
missed tackles in general ticked me off.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, he's got to clean up. He's definitely got to clean up his play more if he doesn't want to. Right now, I'll say this: like Terry, for all the like great love he's got for the like done well in the pro personnel side, right now his drafting isn't really looking all that stellar. With guys like Grant and then Mayfield getting cut and Dahlman bowling snaps back, it's like he's got to pick that stuff up. Hope we got to get some hits here soon.
Yeah, like Dahlman, to me, like the main thing he needs to work on is he has to get those snaps much more consistent. I mean, he is consistent. He has like one or two of those a game, better than it was early last year, where he was like 3 or 4 times every single game. Mm-hmm. So he is better in that regard, but outside of that, he's been good. He's had a couple, he's had at least one really bad game, but for the most part, he's been among the most consistent guys on that offensive line this year, from a strictly pass pro run blocking, just being an offensive lineman outside of the snap part of it. He's been one of the more consistent guys on that offensive line.
The important part of a center's job.
But you know what I'm saying.
I'm messing with you. I can just hear that the coach I worked with a couple last season, every time our center screwed up snapping the ball, I could just hear the coach going, "First things first, you got to snap the ball." Every time I see Dahlman roll the ball back, I think to myself, "First things first, if you can't snap the ball, we're not going to get the playoff."
Man, I swear to God, y'all have got some serious hyperbole out here. Jake Matthews looking like Jalen Mayfield.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Y'all are worse than Zach Klein, and that man was bad.
Let's see. I'm curious on let's see, premium. I'm gonna look it up. I know like it's the quickest metric I got, so y'all have to leave me alone on PFF because I just want to see. Let's see. Blocking. That's what I want. Okay. So where's old? His pass blocking this past game was 61, so it was around average. Jake Matthews was 61. Bergeron had a little bit of a rough game at 52. Chris Lindstrom's back at the top of the heap with 85. And everybody's favorite punching bag, Caleb McGarry, turned in a respectable 71. So,
like I said, before his injury last week, everybody was like this. He was doing this and that, the other, but he was that whole first half. He was in there, and then like the first drive of the second half, he was in there. Like, and you really didn't. His name wasn't called out a ton. So
I'm about to say because
he seems like.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But he just seems like he's getting it together.
Right. Willie Doc says Kyle Pitts, I think he got a touchdown. Hey, right?
Yeah, right.
So
it always takes him 5 or 6 games to get one.
Right. Like I said, I'll say this. I ain't even gonna lie. We're gonna start wrapping this thing up as man, I didn't even have the welcome banner. And y'all didn't catch me. Didn't nobody catch me?
Nope, didn't nobody. Just so excited to get in here and talk, man.
I know, man.
I'm gonna put that.
I wasn't paying attention.
I was hype about tonight.
Yeah. I'll say this: coming into this one, I was like, man, was not looking forward to sit down and doing the show. Well, he's gonna do the show regardless, But we always say like, I'd much rather talk about a win than a loss, obviously. But losing in the way we have lost these 3 games haven't been that great to talk about. But I have to say, surprisingly enough, YouTube made me feel a little bit better.
There's a lot more positivity that went on than in the loss itself.
There you go.
What I'm saying? There's a lot more in it.
Yeah. So, I told my wife, I said, what I'm doing is I'm tired of I'm getting tired of defending the team. And actually haven't had to do much, defending, so to speak, tonight, as I thought I was going to have to. King's got a quick question for us. He says, "A quick question." Yes, yes, King. He says, "Has Akuda been outplaying has Akuda been playing better than AJ?"
Yeah,
Uh,
I think they're both playing really, really well.
What you got, Toby? What you think, man? What you think, man? Look, I said this, and I'm not trying to
I'm
start crap, okay? But a thought did occur to me that if Akuda could be a cheap option if AJ wants to play hardball in the off season.
Hey, well,
And if Akuda keeps playing like this,
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Like, don't get me
Uh-huh.
wrong. I think that they'd rather have both of them
Yeah,
Yes.
because
yeah, I do too.
but let's see. Okay. Coverage. Going back to everybody's favorite PFF for quick comparisons. AJ had a 63. Is this okay? This is hold on. Let me make sure I'm on team reports. Atlanta Falcons. I want to see what this past game was. And then we'll look at the overall coverage. Okay, here we go. Akuda had a 67 and AJ had a 54.
Okay.
So, according to PFF, Akuda did play better this game. And I think like Akuda shut down Terry completely. And AJ I think AJ gave up, let's see here. He was targeted 7 times, gave up 4 receptions for 63 yards.
And if we get that week in and week out, I'll take it.
I don't see where that's a bad, I don't see where that's bad,
Like the problem that's happening is what we're seeing a lot with him is he ends up getting on guys that are doing like the long overs, and he's having to chase guys across the entire field, and that can sometimes you gotta get through traffic, various things like that, but also just trying to chase a guy that's just straight running from you is really hard to do. So he ends up giving up some plays on overs like that. But I mean, you want to talk about like any of the outs, any of the slants, the stuff like that. He's on his guy. And the same thing with Okuda. Okuda, I'm not trying to diss either one of these guys. Like they're both like the whole secondary as a whole. Okay, you can say what you want about Grant, you can say all this other stuff, but he's part of that secondary, and this secondary is locking folks down. Period. End of discussion. And that includes AJ, that includes Okuda, that includes Alfred, that includes Grant, that includes Bates. All right, and anybody else that's back there, whether it's Helms, Hawkins, doesn't matter. They are locking folks down. AJ William Amy has been doing nothing but talking ish. He's been in chat, but so he's like AJ Terrell get burnt on vertical routes. He got burnt on one vertical route, mainly because there was a miscommunication of what they thought the defense was going to be playing.
All I'm saying, like, I agree with King here. He says, I'm not saying AJ is playing bad. I just think Okuda is really showing up, and I think so too. And also, absolutely. Like, AJ is getting targeted more as of right now. So, but to what Jonathan was saying, like, and CDX is like AJ is doing a lot more chasing. So, yeah, I mean, is AJ like having a shutdown year? According to, again, this is just like for quick references, so I don't have the greatest memory in the world, but according to PFF, right now AJ's giving up, like, he's letting 58% completion rate, which you would like to see that lower. So, I think that I kind of agree with Huckle, even though Huckle has been talking crap the whole time too. He says the D is not the problem. The O leaves much to be desired. Yeah, I'm not worried so much about the defense at the moment. No. Like, yeah, you could say, oh, well, they gave up 3 touchdowns this past week. That was on short fields, which are hard to, defend consistently. but the defense has been very consistent, and I'm encouraged by that. And I think that it will continue to get better, but I will still float out the idea that I would not be surprised if Jeff Okuda's play continues and then AJ asks for a bag, that they may, especially if Okuda, who's on a 1-year deal or whatever, comes in lower, they might let AJ walk, especially if the play is not like superstar level
Yeah.
all year. That was something I thought, because
not that one. This one.
Yep.
See, yep. DJ Clark Phillips with playing time. It's just he's having a hard time cracking it because the secondary as a whole is playing so good. Why mess with that? But I agree. I think that if AJ decides to play hardball or decide not play hardball, and rightly or not, he says, I want to be among the highest paid corners in the NFL. All right. That's what every guy does when he plays, good to great. Okay. Everybody's going to try to do that. Okay. And I don't begrudge him for trying to get his money.
Heck no.
Go get your money, whether it's, I want you to be here. Okay. I want you to be here. But if you want to get paid and Atlanta can't do it, I hope you get paid somewhere else, sir. I really do. But Okudah, if he continues playing the way he's playing right now, and if they really like Clark Phillips, then I think this does set up as Okudah is your contingency plan in case things don't work out with AJ, and then you bring him in with Clark Phillips next year as your 2 starting outside corners, and you bring Alford back, Bates, and Grant or Helms. That's your secondary next year.
It's a possibility. Like they don't. Yeah, and so it's a. It'll be interesting to see like the business side of it as it continues to go. All right, well, folks, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate y'all joining us. We had a good time, a much better time than I was anticipating.
And Roku, I know we want to get out of here, but the reason why, again, and I said it early on in this show, coming out of this loss, right after the game, I was like, I was pissed off, man. I was just like, but I was more mad because we beat ourselves. I don't, and you can say what you want. We still lost. Doesn't matter what, but we beat ourselves with the self-inflicted wounds. Like we gave that game to Washington. Okay. What that tells me is like, if we don't make those mistakes again, just like, if we look at the Houston game, like we probably blow out both of these teams in back-to-back weeks if we don't make some of the mistakes and some of the little things that just kind of derail us a little bit here and there. If we clean those things up, this offense is going to start rolling.
Right.
And I can see it. Okay. It's not just me hoping for it. I see it on the screen and on the field. And so when I see that, that makes me like, it sucks we lost. I hate the fact that we lost. But I can see I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully we get there this week and we can start putting together some wins. I would love that more than anything. But yeah, it's not as after week 4, I was just like, oh my God. The last thing I want to do is even look at a Falcons logo. Right? I'm so upset with how things were going. So I feel much better after the last couple weeks.
Josh brings up a good point. I didn't realize this, honestly. He says, through 6 weeks, we have given up 0 rushing touchdowns to running backs. Nielsen has done an amazing job. Also, we've given up the fewest catches to running backs out of the backfield. I didn't realize that, to be completely honest.
I did not realize that.
See? Look at that. More positivity. Look at that.
Yeah. So I feel like we start cleaning, like Jonathan says, you start cleaning up the self-inflicted wounds. And remember, guys, I'm not trying to like blow smoke or nothing like that, but everybody's, fan favorite, media favorite Detroit Lions right now, the ones that are looking like a real good contender. I saw on a clip today talking about one of the best teams in the NFC. They started out 1-6 last year. It took them a little while to get it figured out and get it going. We're not 1-6. We're 3-3. Now they got to start getting it going because if they don't, before too much longer, you'll be staring at an uphill battle.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can start this week in Tampa. Like you go down to Tampa and, win that game, go to first place in the NFC South, 4-3, and keep it going. Like you could take that and build on that momentum. And hopefully that's what we do. Anyway, we appreciate y'all as always. We appreciate everybody who stopped by, everybody who tipped, everybody who didn't tip. We still appreciate y'all. Huckle,
Absolutely.
he says, great show. Thank you, Huckle. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Appreciate it, Huckle.
We appreciate everybody who stops by and hangs out with us. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan.
At Jonathan M. Holder, come by, say hi.
Toby D.
Toby D 1991.
We might do something different this weekend, possibly, depending on what we got going on. But yeah, so just keep your eye on the channel, and yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday with live, hopefully talking about another win and not being 3-4. We want to be 4-3. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.